Recap. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 1079, Chapter Carnivore. In the path of cultivation, there are those who inch forward step by step, and there are those who shatter limits as if they were nothing more than fragile glass beneath their feet. Among them, Dingping stood like a rising storm. Not long ago, he had only just stepped into the spiritual infant tier, his foundation newly forged, his path only beginning. And yet, in the mere span of 3 months, he had leapt across realms as if crossing shallow streams, advancing all the way into the shattering void tier. 3 entire major tiers, nearly 30 minor levels. Such a terrifying ascent, if witnessed within the immortal realm itself, would leave even seasoned cultivators speechless, their minds numb from disbelief. But this miracle did not come without reason. In all the heavens and earth, aside from Ling Han, who else could claim possession of the reincarnation tree? To the outside world, it had only been 3 short months. But for Dingping, his spirit had wandered through nearly 90 years of comprehension beneath that sacred tree. Time had unfolded differently there, his body unmoved, his cultivation unchanged on the surface. Yet his spirit delved endlessly into the mysteries of Tao. Of course, this was not true cultivation in the physical sense. His flesh had not endured 90 years of tempering. Still, even if discounted, it was no less than 30 years of genuine understanding. And that was enough to shake the heavens. Now, Dingping's eyes burned with confidence. A fire had been lit deep within his heart. He longed to surpass his 3 uncles. He longed to stand beside his master, not as a burden, but as a true pillar of strength. Again and again, a single memory haunted him. Ling Han, being taken away. That helpless moment carved itself into his soul like a blade. Never again. He would never allow himself to be separated from his master in such a powerless state again. Dingping was not one to fear hardship. His talent was already exceptional, and now, with boundless resources placed before him, his progress surged forward like a river breaking through a dam. In stark contrast, the Rain Emperor, Helion Tianyun, and the others found their steps growing heavier. Once they had broken into the immortal level, the path ahead became steep and unforgiving. Each inch forward demanded immense effort. At this rate, it was no longer impossible that Dingping would catch up to them. At the very least, he would stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Ling Han observed all of this with quiet satisfaction. A faint smile curved his lips as he spoke, his tone light yet filled with meaning. Third brother, at this pace, Dingping may very well catch up to you. Even big brother is no longer safe from being overtaken. He paused briefly, then added with a chuckle. Second brother's talent is exceptional. Unless Dingping encounters some heaven-defying opportunity, surpassing him will be difficult. Murong Qing immediately let out a miserable cry, as though struck by lightning. Fourth brother, he wailed, clutching Ling Han's arm with exaggerated despair. You must give me special treatment. If you don't, I'll never let this go. The mere thought of being surpassed by a junior sent chills down his spine. The scene drew laughter from everyone present. Even in the face of such terrifying progress, humor still lingered among them. Dingping, however, remained utterly serious. Upon his back rested a massive boulder, etched with divine patterns of gravity. Its weight was monstrous, enough to crush ordinary cultivators into dust. Yet he carried it as though it were a part of his own body. He trained with it. He slept with it. He had grown so accustomed to its presence that the others could not help but tease him. Third uncle, Dingping said firmly, his voice steady despite the burden on his back. Just wait. I will surpass you. The others burst into laughter once more. To think he's turned into a human-shaped turtle, someone joked. But Dingping did not care. Every step he took was a step closer to strength. Yet Dingping was not the only one who had undergone transformation. There was another, the rock spirit. For nearly a year, it had remained stagnant, trapped within the shattering void tier, showing almost no signs of growth. But once Ling Han returned, everything changed. Rocks. Endless rocks. The rock spirit devoured them greedily, crunching through stone as though it were delicacies beyond compare. For more than 2 months, it feasted without pause. Then, one day, it curled into itself. Its body compressed, folding into a compact stone sphere. It became still. Completely still. Days passed, no movement, no sound, as though it had fallen into a deep, ancient slumber. Then, a few days ago, it awakened, and with that awakening came an eruption of power. an explosive breakthrough. The rock spirit had stepped into the immortal level. Unlike demonic beasts, which would transform into human form upon reaching such heights, the rock spirit had always possessed a humanoid shape, though its body remained composed entirely of stone. But now, it could speak. For the first time, it had gained the ability to use words. Yet even so, it showed no interest in conversation. Its behavior remained unchanged. It clung to Ling Han's trousers. It chewed on the fabric. It acted cute. This naturally drew the scorn of the Asura Demon Emperor. "You're not even a dog," he snapped inwardly. "Why are you trying to act like one?" "Woof! Woof!" he barked, nudging the rock spirit with clear dissatisfaction. "This rock spirit, always trying to compete with me," he grumbled. "I'm the dog here, all right?" Ling Han's generosity did not stop with his close companions. Even the guards of the palace received his favor. He distributed spiritual herbs among them, strengthening their foundations and pushing their cultivation forward. Though they were not permitted to enter the Black Tower, nor were they allowed to cultivate beneath the reincarnation tree. After all, the tree could only support 10 cultivators at a time. Even so, their progress was astonishing. In the past, most of them lingered at the flower blossom tier. Now, one after another, they broke into the spiritual infant tier, all within a mere 3 months. Such advancement was nothing short of miraculous. At this moment, Ling Han turned toward his disciple. "Dingping," he said calmly, "return home for a few days." His gaze deepened slightly. "We will depart for the chaotic star's majestic empire in at most 1 month." A faint pause followed. "And who knows when we will return?" Dingping fell silent. To him, the Ding clan was not truly home. It was merely a place of origin, a place he had once lived. Nothing more. But his master had spoken, and he would not disobey. Without hesitation, he packed his belongings and set off. The Dingping of today was no longer the same discarded youth, no longer the trash that had once been looked down upon. Now, he was the personal disciple of the current emperor. His cultivation had soared to unimaginable heights. Within the Ding clan, none knew that he had already reached the shattering void tier. To them, even the spiritual infant tier was a peak beyond imagination. Thus, upon his return, he was welcomed warmly, respectfully, even eagerly. And yet, not all gazes were kind. Some were cold. Some, even hostile. Dingping's heart tightened. He was not ignorant of the currents flowing beneath the surface of the empire. There were those who plotted in the shadows, those who sought to seize the throne, those who wished to overthrow the great Ling Empire and claim power for themselves. Such people, he despised them with every fiber of his being. His master had opened the sky, freed them all from the 5 sects, saved them from being reduced to mere ingredients for alchemical refinement. And in doing so, Ling Han himself had been taken away, held hostage. And yet now, there were those who would repay such sacrifice with betrayal. If such traitors existed within the Ding clan, then he would personally cut them down. Without hesitation, without mercy. "Dingping!" An elder waved him over, a smile stretching across his aged face. "Come, come, let's have a few words." This man was Ding Chang, a figure of influence within the clan. In the past, he had been trapped at the flower blossom tier, resigned to a life that would end in quiet decay. But fate had shifted. When Ling Han opened the sky, blessings followed. Ding Chang broke through. He stepped into the spiritual infant tier. His lifespan extended by 200 years. And with that, the ambitions he had once abandoned reignited. Power, desire, control. They surged within him once more. "Seventh great-grandfather," Dingping greeted, maintaining a respectful tone despite the lack of warmth in his heart. Ding Chang nodded, subtly asserting his seniority. In his eyes, no matter how powerful Dingping became, he was still a junior, still someone who must obey. "Sit," he said, pointing to the seat before him. Once Dingping complied, Ding Chang's expression turned serious. "Pinger," he began slowly, "it has been nearly 2 years since His Majesty left, correct?" Dingping's heart gave a faint jolt, but his expression did not change. Calm, steady, unshaken. These were lessons Ling Han had carved into him. "Yes," he replied. "Master has indeed been gone for almost 2 years." Ding Chang chuckled softly. Then, a glint appeared in his eyes, sharp, hungry. "A nation," he said, "cannot go a day without a ruler." Those words fell like a stone into still water. Ripples spread instantly. "Seventh great-grandfather, what are you trying to say?" Ding Ping asked, his voice low. Ding Chang leaned forward slightly. You, he said, are His Majesty's only disciple. A pause. Then, since His Majesty has left and may never return, his voice lowered, shouldn't you ascend the throne? Shua Dingping shot to his feet. Seventh great-grandfather, he snapped. Be careful with your words. Ding Chang's face darkened instantly. What kind of attitude is that? Was this brat rebelling? Seventh great-grandfather, Ding Ping said coldly, you are drunk. He turned, prepared to leave. Bang! Ding Chang slammed the table. Stop right there. Ding Ping did not stop. He continued forward. Then a figure appeared, silent, sudden, blocking his path. Heh, the newcomer said with a faint smile. Young man, didn't you hear your elder? His voice was calm, yet carried a sharp edge. It is not good manners to disrespect one's seniors. Ding Ping's eyes narrowed. Before him stood a youth, no older than 24 or 25. A sword rested upon his back, but more than that, an overwhelming sword intent radiated from his entire being. It was as if he was the sword, and the sword was him. Who are you? Ding Ping asked, his voice sinking into a low, dangerous tone. Pressure pressed down upon him, heavy, sharp, unyielding. And in that instant, he understood this youth was no weaker than himself, a cultivator of the shattering void tier. The wind carried the scent of blood and ambition. And within that suffocating stillness, a young man stepped forward with a faint smile upon his lips, calm, almost amused, as if he were merely recounting a trivial story rather than standing at the center of a brewing storm. Me? He said lightly, his gaze steady. I am Zhang Mo. In the past, some called me the Small Sword Emperor. He paused, a trace of ridicule curling at the corner of his mouth. But that title is no longer something I dare keep. This is the immortal realm. If I still cling to such a name, sooner or later, someone will beat me to death for it. His tone was casual, yet beneath it lay a chilling truth. At those words, Ding Ping's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping into a low murmur. Heaven's sword sect. In that instant, everything became clear. The hidden currents within the empire, the invisible hands stirring chaos behind the scenes. It was all connected. The 5 great sects, a cold fury ignited within Ding Ping's heart. Are these people fools? They already knew the truth, that those very sects had once sought to refine them into a realm pill, to grind their lives into mere ingredients for cultivation. And yet now they listened. Now they believed. Now they were even willing to betray Ling Han. Was fame and power truly so intoxicating, so irresistible, that it could blind men to reason? Zhang Mo chuckled softly, his eyes glinting with amusement. What a coincidence, he said. We were planning to lure you back here, yet you delivered yourself right into our hands. Hearing this, the last trace of unease in Ding Ping's heart vanished. The enemy had revealed themselves. And that was enough. His cultivation had already reached the 3rd layer of the shattering void tier. With the explosive force within his body, he could unleash a battle prowess equivalent to 12 stars. Beyond that, he could draw upon the power of the nation. He possessed treasures personally bestowed upon him by Ling Han. Within the same tier, he feared no one. Ding Ping stood tall, expression calm as still water. I will never betray my master, he said firmly. Even if you capture me, so what? Ha ha! A burst of laughter erupted. Ding Chang's face flushed red with excitement, his entire body trembling with anticipation. We don't need your loyalty, he exclaimed. We only need a puppet. His eyes burned with greed. You are Ling Han's disciple. If you ascend the throne, no one will question it. At that moment, his mind surged with fantasies of power. He who had never dared dream of ruling an empire now stood on the brink of it. Even the part of him long since withered stirred back to life, filled with restless desire. Such was the allure of authority. Power was the ultimate intoxicant. Idiot. Zhang Mo's voice fell like a blade. Without warning, he raised his hand. A flash of sword-light tore through the air. Clean, precise, merciless. Pang! Blood burst forth like a crimson flower. Ding Chang's head separated from his body, tumbling across the ground before coming to a halt. His face remained frozen in shock. In disbelief, he could not understand. Weren't they allies? Weren't they meant to seize the empire together? Why? Why had Zhang Mo killed him? Ding Ping watched coldly. There was not even a flicker of sympathy in his eyes. This man had betrayed Ling Han. The fact that Ding Ping had not killed him himself was already mercy. He shook his head slowly. Seventh great-grandfather, you made a deal with devils, he said quietly. They only used you to to lure me back. For a fleeting moment, a trace of clarity flickered in Ding Chang's eyes. Then it vanished forever. Had he chosen differently, he could have lived another 200 peaceful years. With Ding Ping's support, he might even have stepped into the deity transformation tier, or even the heaven tier. After all, this was the immortal realm. Resources that were rare in the mortal world were abundant here. But greed had consumed him. He desired power beyond his reach. And in the end, that desire shattered him completely. Zhang Mo glanced at Ding Ping, his expression returning to calm indifference. "So," he asked, "will you surrender, or must I use force?" His confidence was not without reason. He had already reached the shattering void tier before the heavens were opened by Ling Han. Now, after nearly 2 years of cultivation in the immortal realm, his strength had soared to the 9th layer of the shattering void tier. His battle prowess reached 15 stars. The dense spiritual chi of this realm, combined with the resources of the 5 great sects, had pushed him far beyond his former limits. Yet, he was not satisfied. He had no intention of breaking through to the Mountain River tier just yet. Instead, he sought perfection, to accumulate, to refine, to reach the supreme threshold. 20 stars, 15, was not enough. Ding Ping threw his head back and laughed, a bold, fearless laugh. "We'll only know who's stronger after we fight." Zhang Mo's eyes narrowed slightly, a faint smile forming. "Our intelligence was wrong," he said. "Who would have thought you'd reach the shattering void tier so quickly?" He studied Ding Ping carefully. "You are much like your master. Your cultivation speed is troublesome." A killing intent flickered in his gaze. "I should eliminate you now, before you become a greater threat." Had Ling Han been killed back then, the lower realm would still belong to them. The 5 sects would have refined another realm pill by now, and they would have ascended directly to their ancestral grounds. Not this place. Not this barren, suffocating land known as the Joint Peace Planet. Here, they could not access the true resources of the immortal realm. Here, they were trapped, stagnant, despairing. So after 2 years of hiding, they struck a final decisive move, replaced the ruler of the Great Ling Empire, installed Ding Ping as a puppet emperor, and when the time came, discard him. Once contact with the sects was restored, they would return home. Ding Ping clenched his fists tightly. "Then try it," he said. This would be his first true battle against an opponent of equal realm. He had sparred with Ling Han before, but that man was a monster. Even when suppressing his cultivation, Ling Han had beaten him until despair consumed him. There was no comparison. Zhang Mo let out a cold chuckle. "Even your confidence resembles your master's," he said. "That only makes me more annoyed." His hand rose, and in the next instant, shua shua! Sword light streaked across the air, tearing toward Ding Ping like a storm of blades. Zhang Mo? The small sword emperor. His mastery of the sword Dao was unquestionable. Each movement carried sword intent. Each strike cut through heaven and earth. Ding Ping did not retreat. With a thunderous roar, he thrust his fists forward. Peng! The air itself compressed, forming an invisible shield. The incoming sword lights shattered upon impact. Zhang Mo's expression finally changed. A flicker of astonishment appeared. He's only at the 3rd layer. How can his power be this strong? Ding Ping cracked his neck. Pa! 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 Explosive sounds echoed from his joints. "I'm still inferior to my master," he said calmly. "But suppressing you is more than enough." Though he had not mastered the indestructible heaven scroll, he had cultivated the 9 dragons' tyrant body art, a path of dual cultivation. That was why, despite being only at the 3rd layer, he possessed the power of 9 stars, and when he unleashed his explosiveness, that power surged even higher. Zhang Mo's face darkened. He belonged to the same generation as Ling Han. There had even been a time when he could suppress him. And now, Ling Han's disciple dared to speak of suppressing him? Arrogant. He drew his sword in a single fluid motion. "Young man," he said coldly, "you are far too arrogant." "I am not arrogant," Ding Ping replied. "I am confident." His spirit burned bright. Fear had no place within him. This was what Ling Han had taught him. But confidence was not recklessness. If he could not win, he would retreat. Only the living could turn defeat into victory. "How infuriating," Zhang Mo snorted. His sword slashed forward. A brilliant sword ray erupted, stretching nearly 300 meters. It carved through the world itself. "Take the battle outside," Ding Ping roared. In the small world, they could ascend into the sky. But here, They could only move outward. Petty compassion, Zhang Mo scoffed. In his eyes, these people were nothing more than ants. Once, they held some value as materials for the realm pill. Now, they were worthless. Boom! The sword ray descended. Buildings shattered. Lives were extinguished. The Ding clan was engulfed in destruction. Damn you! Ding Ping's roar shook the heavens. His power exploded outward as he charged toward Zhang Mo. Like a raging dragon unleashed, he had to stop him, no matter what. He would not allow this slaughter to continue. Not here. Not now. Not while he still stood.